Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio, here with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. We're having an absolutely sensational winter's day here. It's probably just below 20 degrees, which in old school is about 70 degrees. So it's not too hot and it's not too cold. But anyway, before we kick the show off, I'd like to really sort of start the show again with our prayers and our thoughts and our wishes, and in whatever way that we can send some sort of positive energy to Greece with the terrible tragedy and the fires there, and also not forgetting our friends in California too, with their fires and their tragedies that everybody's been sort of facing in this last week or so. It is really a terrible thing, and, you know, it's going to affect their lives for many, many years to come as they rebuild and work through the emotional losses as well as the physical losses and the material losses. It's the loss of life, and it's the change to their whole life that, you know, some people say that it may be a blessing in disguise. I don't know that they're going to see that at this point, but let's just send our thoughts and our prayers to them. So kicking the show off today, we have a really, really positive card to say, and I'm pretty certain we haven't seen this one on the show before, and it's the Sun card. Now, the Sun card's one of my favourite cards because it is the card of marriage, and when we talk the word marriage, I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I'm talking about church marriage, not a pretending marriage, not a hand fasting or living together situation. It is the piece of paper type marriage. It can also mean, the secondary meaning is happiness and bright happenings. So it's a really positive card if you want to start something new in your life, if you're really looking to sort of kickstart something off. And it really flows very well this week with the new moon in Leo. And the new moon in Leo, which we'll move on to that now, the new moon in Leo is probably one of my most favourite times of the year, possibly because my moon is in Leo and I always feel re-energised and sparkly, and hence all the gold and the glitzy stuff today to sort of celebrate the new moon in Leo. And the new moon actually happens on the 11th of this month, wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. So I'm already into my new moon sort of cycle because I like to work with 3 days on the approach, that I start burning my new moon candle with my list underneath it of the things that I'd like to bring into my life. And this year I'm going for something slightly different, where I normally sort of, you know, put on my list I'd like some new exciting work opportunities and things like that, because I'm always looking for something innovative and new and something that catches my eye that might be sparkly and shiny and different. And I've always tended to be ahead of probably a lot of other people in my profession. But this year I thought I'd twist it around a little bit, and I was going to ask for sort of some more downtime in my life where I can sort of really just sort of take stock of, you know, I'm not getting any younger and it's time to stop and smell the coffee and the roses a little bit and really start enjoying my, you know, next 12 months. So it doesn't always have to be, I'm using that as an example for you to show you that you don't always have to be creating brand new things to fill your life up with. It can be new things that you want to implement in your life, like new rules for your life. So in my case, about slowing down and sticking to my work schedules of only working 4 days a week instead of 7, and really starting to enjoy my life before I get too old and decrepit to enjoy it. So they're the sort of things that I think this new moon is asking us to look at, because the Leo energy is about being proud and dramatic and ostentatious and really out there and sort of strutting your stuff and sort of letting the world know that you're here. So it's a perfect time to sort of, you know, maybe let the world know you're here in a different way. And that's what I'm trying to do this year, is restructure my new moon in a different way. So how do we work with the new moon energy? What we do is we write down a little list of maybe 3 things that we want to change in our life or bring towards us or create something new in our lives. Ideal time if you're looking to launch a new product or a service that really needs to get out to the public. Now is the perfect time. So I work with the new moon in this presence. 3 days on the approach. So that's 3 days leading up to the new moon, 3 full days of the full moon, and then 2 days on the decline. So really sort of 2 to 3 days leading up to it. I'd start today. It's the 8th here in Australia. I'd really start today because I like to get a bit of a head start. But normally 2 days on the approach, 3 days of the full moon, and then 2 days on the decline. So what we'd be doing, we've got our little list written. We'd get our new moon candle and we would write our list. We would pop our list underneath the candle, bearing in mind that we always put the candle on a coaster. We never directly put it on furniture because the glass container can get hot. And this also stops you scorching your good furniture and things like that if we look at always putting something underneath the candle. So I like to these extra large candles come with 2 wicks. I like to light one side one day and one side the next day. Just gives you a longer burn time. Otherwise, you'll get about 60 hours out of your candle. This way, you can get up to about 100 hours. Now, it's really interesting because as we go through, and this is a candle that I only burn once a month for the 7 days, it's not something that I burn on a daily basis, even though it is one of my favourite fragrances. It's something that, you know, you can put it away. Just make sure you keep them out of the sunlight. That's one of the things that people quite often say to me, oh, you know, Amanda, my candle's faded. And my first question I asked them was, did you have it sitting in the sun? Was it near a window ledge? Was it near really strong direct light? And they used to say, oh, yeah, it was right on my windowsill. Well, if you do that, you will actually find the candle wax, the soy wax will change colour. So this one's a pretty powder blue. It will go to a very sort of dirty white looking if you leave it in the sun. So that's just something to bearing in mind. So that's our new moon candle. I would also be burning my absolute favourite, which is the candle for the fire signs or the Leo energy at the moment that we're working with. And this one, the other one's French vanilla, this one's strawberries and champagne. So they really do make a great combination together. So again, same principle, always burn it, place it on a coaster, put your list underneath it, one side one day, one side the next day. Same principle, between 5 minutes and 2 hours per day, depending whether you've got that time to sit with the candle. I don't like to leave candles unattended because they are a fire risk after all. Keep them away from children, dogs, cats, open windows, air conditioners, the usual things. So this is our travel box. If you find that you want a smaller candle or you want something to give as a gift or something that you're just going to spoil yourself with, this is our travel box. We have 28 in the range. You can choose any 3 of the candles that you like. This time I've made up a little bit of a different combination for the new moon. I've put the fire sign either side and I've put the new moon in the middle. And that's just purely, this would be a great present for a fire sign person because they'd get to burn their fire sign candle, but they'd also get to work with the new moon. And then when the moon's in a fire sign, they'd also have that spare candle for that. But it's entirely up to you how you work with them. They burn for approximately 15 hours. Same rules apply. Put your coaster underneath. So for those of you that don't want to work with a flame, my suggestion would be a melt warmer or a wax warmer. These are around about $15 here in Australia. They are electric. They have a little button on the side that you can turn them off. How I like to work with these is I put about half a teaspoon a day in the melt warmer of the actual wax or the energy that I'm working with at the moment. Mine currently in the dining room has half a teaspoon of the fire sign and half a teaspoon of the new moon, happily melting away together, wafting through the house with my intentions there for my new moon. And in my office, as I've spoken about many times on the show, I always have one with protection wax in there for every time that I work with psychic protection. I work with psychic energy. So that's our candles of the week. Those of you that might want to purchase a candle, you can pop over to my website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. Type in the word radio at the checkout and you will get a little discount. We do offer free postage here in Australia, but for our overseas family, we can only offer you a flat fee. So my suggestion is if you want to make a few purchases, save your pennies up and do them all in one go, and that way you'll save on postage. So we need to keep the show moving along. I'd like to go for our little glimpse around the universe next because we are still sort of talking about everything universal, and we've already talked about the new moon, which is happening on the 11th of this month in Leo. But I'd like to sort of also briefly touch on a couple of other things that are happening in the universe at the moment. Look, our dear old friend Mercury is still retrograde, so it's always, you know, Mercury's the planet of communication, technologies play up, computers break down, you lose all your backed up information because you didn't back it up quickly enough on your computer. You know, the phone battery dies, you name it, the list goes on. Your mail doesn't turn up. People don't have their listening ears on. It's a time really when we're being asked to sort of slow down, regroup, maybe catch up on our paperwork, go through the closet, you know, do things that really don't require a lot of communication, but things that we can busy ourselves with and just allow our thoughts to come and go like the tide. And see where we're sort of regrouping and where we're going to make our next run towards, you know, the next few months, because Mercury does go retrograde 3 times a year. He will be going direct again on the 18th, so it's only 10 days away, so it's not too far. We're sort of a bit over, nearly the halfway point of, you know, Mercury retrograde. But we've also had another planet retrograde for a little while now, since about the end of June, and it will continue until the 28th of this month. Now, this is Mars. Now, this is the planet of action. So when Mars goes retrograde, which he does once or twice in his cycle, in the energy that he's in, and he's actually in Aquarius at the moment. So when Mars is in Aquarius, this is when we get those light bulb moments where our thinking is really brilliant. We can have ideas that seemingly come out of nowhere, and it's like a time where we're racing to the finish line. We're racing to sort of beat everybody else to come up with brilliant ideas and new ways of doing things, and the communication's fast and furious, and I haven't got time to stand still and all this sort of stuff. But when you have the planet going backwards at that time, it actually sort of reverses itself in a sense. So, yes, Mars is still the planet of action, and it's still in the energy of ideas and light bulb moments, but Mars is feeling a little bit restricted. Mars is sort of feeling as if somebody's put a ball and chain around both of his feet and sort of hobbling him and not allowing him to speak his mind or speak his truth. And this, coupled with Mercury, is making it really, really difficult for people to get a message across. So I know I spoke on last week's show, it's not the time to bring up the tricky issue in your relationship because the other person mightn't be listening, or is only half listening, or is so full of their own agenda that they're really not paying attention to what you're saying. They're saying yes, 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 but they're not absorbing it. And the other added factor we've got here with Mars being in Aquarius retrograde is that this could invoke some really bad arguments because people get a bit offensive, they get a bit defensive, they get aggressive, they don't understand, and they sort of go straight into battle mode and think that they've got to stand their ground and sort of really let you know in no uncertain terms you're wrong, they're right, and they just shut their ears down completely. So it's not the time, if you can get away with it, to bring up anything delicate or tricky that needs to be addressed until the 28th of this month. So having said that, it's very interesting when you look at politics around the world that there's so many things going on at the moment, so many inquiries. I know here in Australia we've got a big Royal Commission on Banking and Superannuation, and I've been listening to that in the background while I've been working, and the amount of people that have this terrible memory loss, and I think to myself, now these are people in prominent positions. I'd sack them if they worked for me and they couldn't remember some important information or some work that they did. But I like to see the way that they manoeuvre themselves around during this Mercury retrograde and this Mars retrograde, where they get very defensive and very angry when they don't want to answer a question because they've been caught out on a lie. And I know that other parts of the world, there's similar things going on. So it's just interesting how astrology always seems to be so precise to what is actually going on, as if somebody gave them the rule book when they set these commissions down or these inquiries down, that they just coincide so beautifully. But anyway, that's the way that it is. And, you know, there's so much more. We could do hours on astrology and just, you know, talk about this week. But I want to move on to my famous singer of the week this week, and we're looking for a male Libra. And before I even started to sort of Google to find out who was born under the sign of Libra, I thought there's only one person that you couldn't overlook this person when you think about a male Libra singer, somebody that's changed the music industry in the world, not just in my generation, but probably for future generations to come as far as the eye can see. And it's the one and only John Lennon from the Beatles. I mean, you couldn't sort of overlook John Lennon and what he did. And when I started to research it, John Lennon was not such a nice little kid when he was a little boy. I mean, his dad left him when he was very young and he had a very difficult childhood. His mother was killed in an accident quite young in his life. And he was that kid that everybody said to their child not to play with because he was a rebel with a cause. Everybody could see he was going to be a little bit of a troublemaker. He was a little bit different. He dared to sort of challenge authority. He dared to think outside the square. And because he is a Libra, he's always constantly searching for the balance in things. And it's interesting that where he was one of the co-creators of the Beatles, him and McCartney got together and they formed the initial part of the Beatles and then added the other two as they went along. And George Harrison was quite a bit younger than the boys. And I'm saying quite a bit younger, 4 or 5 years younger than the older two. So he was only sort of like 14 when he became part of the band, which was, you know, and they were 19. So it's a big age difference at that age. But they went on to write some of the most beautiful lyrics. And a lot of people sort of say, oh, it was only pop songs. But yes, they might have only been pop songs, but I don't think there's a person on the planet that can't sing along to at least half a dozen different Beatles songs and know every word and probably not even realising they're the Beatles, but they're just ingrained into their psyche that they know these songs. In his later years, John Lennon went on to be a really vocal activist against things like famine, against wars, against politics, anything that he didn't particularly like, he put it into songs. And this was after he left, and the Beatles disbanded and he went out in his solo career, that a lot of people sort of went off John Lennon then because they thought that he became too much of somebody that they didn't really associate with or couldn't associate with, because they were so used to him singing poppy jingles that, you know, had a happily ever after ending, or, you know, had something that didn't have to think about. And then all of a sudden his music took him into a way of where he really wanted to take it. He really wanted to bring up, you know, why are we at war? Why can't we be at peace? And I'm going to leave you with, I think, probably the most prevalent song that he ever wrote, and it's Imagine, isn't it? I mean, imagine if the world was a better place. And I think that's the legacy of John Lennon that I think, when I think of John Lennon, I always think of that song, but I also think of the other song, Don't They Know It's Christmas? And that makes it really good. And my producers just said, give peace a chance. And I think that's a really, really, really good message. And I mean, I think we could all adopt that this day and age. And I think it was a tragic loss when we did lose John Lennon, because we really did lose somebody that wasn't frightened to stand up to anybody. You know, it didn't matter what political genre they came from, he fought with the lot. So we salute John Lennon, and his music will live on forever. So we're now going to go to Hannah in Nelson, New Zealand. Are you there, Hannah? Are you there, Hannah? I think we've lost Hannah. Maybe Hannah is off getting her album out of the Beatles, ready to play us a song. So, you know, well, I'll just keep talking then. So, you know, there's been many other things that John Lennon did too. He was given so many different awards. He had, you know, posthumous awards of Halls of Fame and Songwriters Halls of Fame after his death, which was something that I suppose if it had been granted to him in his lifetime, it probably wouldn't have meant that much to him, because he wanted to be taken seriously and he wanted to be recognised for the music that he was writing, like Imagine. And, you know, getting people to sort of really start to think. So is Hannah there yet? I think we've lost Hannah. Okay, well, I'll keep talking. Hello, are you there, Hannah?
Hello, speaking.
Hi, Hannah, how can I help you tonight, sweetie? Have you got a question for me?
Hi, yes. So lately I've noticed there are some people around me, and I've been taking photos, and there's some purple orbs in the background, and there's a photo that I have, and there's a lady standing in my doorway, and people said that she's holding a baby. I was just wondering if you could anything back to me about that.
Look, there's many different interpretations when you get orbs that come up in photographs. Some people sort of say it's a sign of the future, that, you know, passed over relatives and people that were important to us are trying to share with us what's ahead for us. So if you're not wanting to have, you know, a new baby in your life as such, then take the baby symbol as something new, a brand new beginning. It's like a new life. It's a new opportunity that's being granted to you. And it's because it's the baby's there with a woman, we would very rarely ever see in an image like that, or in an orb or something that we can associate with, we would very rarely see a baby standing there with a man. It's just sort of not the way things are done. We always associate mother and child, not so much father and child. So I wouldn't necessarily take it that it has to be connected with something connected to woman. I think it's just a new opportunity, a new beginning that's coming for you. And, you know, spirits, dearly departed relatives like to contact us in many different ways. They aren't necessarily always going to come to us in a dream or in a sign or move the photographs on the mantelpiece. They find different ways of communicating with us. And if you're a person that really likes to work with your photography or takes a lot of notice of your photographs, that's why they'll come to you in that form.
Right.
It's nothing to be frightened of, Hannah. It's something to be really excited about, that they're making connection with you.
No, that is exciting, because I did get a second chance at life, so it's very good to hear that. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's what the baby's representing then, the new beginnings, the new opportunities. If you've been given a second chance at life, then look at it as if you can take it as if right from birth. You know, you can set it out to be exactly the way that you want it to be. You don't have to follow in your previous lifetime if you don't want to, in the way that your life was till that point. It's entirely your choice now. You've got a blank canvas. Isn't that wonderful?
That is amazing.
And have you been getting sort of strong dreams as well, Hannah?
I've been getting very odd dreams lately, and just a lot of stuff is going on in my life at the moment. Like my kids are getting really sick and just odd things. So I'm just wondering if am I going to make it? It's very stressful.
You're wondering if you're going to what?
So if this is just a phase, I'm going to get through it.
Oh, yeah, you'll definitely get through it. Look, I mean, when I said to you, asked you had a lot of strong dreams, I mean, strong dreams can come in many forms. You're saying these strange dreams, and they're probably strange to you because you don't understand the whole context of what the dream's about. One part of it's very clear, and then the other sort of like doesn't relate to it. And you think, well, what on earth's got to do with what's orange has got to do with a tin of paint? You know, they don't go together. You know, it's not a tin of paint and a paintbrush, and it's not oranges and a glass, you know, like they don't go together. But look at them as two separate or three separate things. Break the dream down. You know, the bits that fit, put that in one basket. The bits that don't fit, put them in another basket and put the other bits in another basket. And then that way you'll find there may be 3 or 4 separate messages in that one dream. So I know you're going to get through it. I think you've got a very exciting time in the next 12 months. What I do want to say to you is make sure that you are just true to yourself, Hannah. That's the only thing that you need to do. If it doesn't suit you, say no, and you don't have to explain yourself. The answer's just no. Okay? Lovely to talk to you. We're going to go to Yvonne now in Glen Spey in New York, USA. How are you, Yvonne? Hi, Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne. See, typical Mercury retrograde. He loves playing tricks with telephone callers. Are you there, Yvonne? No, we've lost Yvonne. All right, well, I'll keep talking then. For those of you that might like to join our newsletter, if you want to head to my website, as I mentioned before, you can sign up and we will gladly send you your very own free astrology chart, emailed anywhere in the world, absolutely free, around about 16 pages. So if you want to learn more about yourself, head to my website and join our newsletter today. We have lots of exciting things coming up over the next few months. And for those of you that want to learn a little bit more about the new moon, I'll be doing a show in Facebook Live directly after this show. And we'll be talking at great length about the new moon in Leo and what it means to you. But it's really, really interesting. Every week I get so many things in my inbox with people asking me lots of different questions and people asking me, Amanda, what do I do about this and what do I do about that? And a lot of people ask me about their pets. And they say to me, but how do I know that they're okay? You know, like, did I do the right thing? You know, my poor little doggy was in such distress. I took them to the vet and they suggested that, you know, they only had hours to live and it'd be kinder to put them down. And you agonise over whether or not you've made the right decision over your dog or your cat or, you know, even your goldfish. Look, what I can suggest to you is this, that our animals do truly speak to us. They do truly let us know when their time is up, that when they're ready to be gone. And it's not a matter of whether we do something that's right or wrong. Know that we always do the right thing. Are you there, Yvonne?
Yes, I am.
How can I help you, sweetie? Do you have a question for me?
No, just what's going to happen in my life.
Okay, but it's easier for me to tune into a specific area of your life, Yvonne, if, you know, you're looking for a new job or looking to move or looking for a relationship.
Well, I would like that, but I don't work anymore. I'm an old lady, and I live with my daughter, and I'm alone most of the time.
Yeah, but I pick up this real sense of loneliness around you, Yvonne, that you'd like sort of more in your life. I'm not saying that your relationship with your daughter isn't great, but you'd like something more for you. You know, it's in companionship.
True.
But the problem is
Well,
I
that's what
have
I'm
no
seeing.
money and no car.
Okay, yeah, well, that can limit things a little bit. But I do actually sort of feel over the next few months, Yvonne, there will be opportunities for you to have a bit more of a social life than what you've had. And I appreciate you've got very little money and you don't have transport. But I do see you partnering up with a woman, and I mean partnering up as a friend who does have a car. She doesn't have a lot of money either, but she's got a real zest for life. And she sort of says to you, come on, Yvonne, get your coat and let's go. And the two of you go out and start joining activities that don't cost a lot of money. What they're giving you is opportunities to mix with other people that have similar interests to you. There's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of fun. And through that, I think there will be opportunities to go out and have fun with things that don't cost a lot of money. I don't see you necessarily long-term wise living with your daughter. I think there's going to be some changes there in the next 18 months that will enable you to have more independence, Yvonne. I don't want you to worry about it. It's something that the universe is going to present. It's not because you and your daughter have an argument. It's going to be an opportunity for you to be able to gain more independence, have a little bit more money, and I think just have a different type of quality of life in your golden years. And I think that's what you would like, and you would like to have somebody to share that with. And I'm going to leave that with you because we've only got about 30 seconds of the show left now. But I do know that your life is changing for the better, Yvonne, and I just want you to keep positive, sweetie, and keep your chin up and keep smiling. So we'll look forward to doing it all again in 7 days' time here on A1R Psychic Radio. So till next week, be kind to each other. Make sure that you learn to sort of say no to things that you don't want to do in your life, and treasure those people and your animals that are very important to each and every one. Bye for now.